A dusty drifter named Sam Callahan walks into a nowhere town with 8 wrinkled dollars and a rifle that won't shoot straight. He's out of luck, out of time, and about to make the kind of trade you only hear about in saloon whispers. They say a man's worth in the West could fit inside his saddlebag. For Sam Callahan, it fit inside a single pocket, 8 tired dollars and a Winchester that coughed instead of fired. He hated that the gun was bent and jammed, but he hated the story behind it even more. A crooked poker table, Jed Tanner's knife smile, and a run of cards slick as oil. Pride went first, then horse and saddle, then whatever future he thought he had. Funny thing about rock bottom, there's always a trapdoor underneath. Red Mesa's wind blew hot and dry across Coyote Bend, lifting little devils of dust that danced through the empty street. Sam's boots scuffed along the ruts left by wagons, and every scuff echoed the same thought: keep moving. The town didn't look like much. One road, a church with a leaning steeple, the Silver Spur Saloon, and a livery big enough to shade a pair of mules. The kind of place where news traveled faster than horses and judgment arrived before truth. He pushed through the saloon doors and let the smell of stale tobacco wrap around him. A few men hunched over warm whiskey and slow gossip. The piano had given up earlier in the afternoon and stood silent. Keys yellowed like old teeth. Behind the bar, Bill, clean glass, Hart scrubbed a tumbler that was already spotless, like he was polishing his patience instead. "Back to bleed more luck, Callahan?" Bill asked, voice dry as a fence post. "Pour something that bites," Sam said, laying a silver dollar on the counter. "I need to know I'm alive." Bill filled the glass and slid it over. "Tanner passed through an hour after the deal. Headed east, said he had business. You don't want to be where that man's doing business." Sam took the whiskey in one shot. It burned honest. "I want to be anywhere he isn't," he said. "But a thief took my horse, and I ain't got the feet for walking to Santa Fe." "Feet you got," Bill said. "Luck you don't." Sam set the glass down, stared at his reflection in the back bar mirror, and didn't recognize the man looking back. A face chiseled by sun, eyes carrying old storms. There was a time he'd worn blue cavalry and believed in orders. Then the war ended, and orders stopped answering back. The country moved on. Sam floated like a weed in floodwater, bumping into towns and leaving none better than he found them. "Where's Tanner's trail start?" he asked. "East Ridge," Bill said. "But take this tip on the house. If you're chasing that man, carry a prayer. You ain't carrying bullets." Outside, the light was burning low, sunset laying red paint over the world. Sam crossed to the livery, where a boy with freckles was brushing a mule, humming some tune too cheerful for the day. Horses rustled in their stalls and snorted at the smell of a stranger's trouble. "You buying?" the boy said. "I'm riding," Sam said, opening his palm like a showman. $8, all of it. The boy tilted his head and scanned the stalls, like he was choosing a lesser sin. "You can get Daisy," he said, pointing to a gray mare with ribs showing like barrel hoops. "She ain't fast, but she's stubborn. Won't die on you unless the good Lord asks real nice." Sam looked the mare in the eyes, tired but aware, same as him. "We'll get on fine," he said. "What about a saddle?" "2 bits for a blanket," the boy said quickly. "Rope's free, or was before you asked." Sam handed over the coins and tied the blanket tight. It wasn't comfortable, but comfort was something he'd misplaced a long time ago. The bent Winchester rode across his back like a joke nobody was laughing at. He swung onto Daisy and felt every complaint in her bones and his. He rode out of Coyote Bend with the last of the light, following wagon grooves east, toward land where you could hear your heartbeat. The desert made its own kind of quiet, the sort that pressed against your ears. After a few miles, he found a dry creek bed and built a small fire for mesquite and what passed for hope. The rifle lay across his knees as he sat. He thumbed the dent in the barrel, the spot where it had kissed a rock shelf during a bad day, and got ugly. If he was honest, the gun's shape matched his life. Once straight, now bent, still pretending to be useful. "Just you and me," he told it. "Two busted things that keep moving because stopping's worse." He slept in fits and starts, a saddle blanket under his head, and coyotes yodeling distance into the night. Dreams came hard. The war, a field that wouldn't stop smoking, a horse screaming like a person. He woke before dawn, gray, cold, and hungry, and brewed coffee that tasted like scorched earth. Daisy nosed his shoulder as if to say, this plan had better include oats. He offered a pat and apologies, neither of which fed a horse. By mid-morning, the heat had climbed into the sky and sat there like a bully. Sam followed Tanner's likely path along the ridgeline, scanning for sign, fresh tracks, a lost button, a careless piece of tobacco twist. He found a single cigar butt half ground into the dust and smiled without humor. Tanner did love his cigars. He didn't see the riders until they were nearly upon him. 6 shadows lifting dust, then resolving into Comanche horsemen moving like river water. They spread without words, a fan of practiced grace closing around him. Sam lifted both hands slow. At their center, a woman rode a bay mare the color of wet earth. She sat straight and easy, bow unstrung but ready, eyes as black and cool as obsidian. Beads threaded into her hair flashed with small, contained light. "You trade this horse?" she asked, chin indicating Daisy. "I bought her," Sam said, letting the words stand plain. "Paid $8 to a boy in Coyote Bend." She kept looking at him like she was reading more than his face. "The horse is mine," she said. "Gift of my father. Stolen last moon." The circle tightened. The horses breathed together, a slow tide. Sam felt Daisy press against his leg, wanting to disappear into his boot. "If that's true," he said, "I'm riding a mistake and I'm sorry. I don't steal, and I don't buy stolen goods when I know better." "Now you know better," the woman said. "What's your name?" he asked. Not to be clever, but because names set the ground under your feet. "Nayeli," she said, "daughter of Red Hawk." "Sam Callahan," he said, "man of bad timing." One of the warriors laughed under his breath. Another said something quick in Comanche, and the circle settled again. Nayeli weighed him, the way a blacksmith tests a bar for flaws. "You come," she said. "You will speak with my father." "Or?" Sam asked, "because men die from the things they don't ask. Or you leave the horse and go on your feet." She didn't say what else might happen, and she didn't need to. The untold parts had sharp edges. He thought about the $8, which now smelled like a joke, and about the broken rifle that couldn't help him if it wanted to. He thought about walking east under a sun that ate men. Then he looked into the calm in her eyes and heard a different kind of challenge, the kind a person gives when they're tired of being wronged. "Lead on," he said. They took his rope, but left his dignity, which was more than he'd expected. The group moved at an easy pace across the red land, over a geography folded like blankets. Mesas, arroyos, little junipers stubborn as old men. The silence wasn't hostile, it was careful. "Why do you ride a broken gun?" one warrior asked finally, his English accented but strong. "Sentimental," Sam said. "We keep what reminds us to do better." "Then you have much to carry," the man said, and the group chuckled again. By late afternoon, cliff walls rose around them, streaked with iron and sunset. A village unrolled from the rock like it had been there since the world learned to breathe. Hide and brush shelters, fires ringed with stone, a handful of children darting after a blessedly patient dog. Women pounded mesquite beans. Old men watched the riders without moving, their gazes long and exact. Nayeli swung down and spoke to a boy who sprinted away at once, the way boys do when entrusted with the size of a moment. She turned to Sam. "You come," she said, and walked ahead without looking back. Chief Red Hawk waited in the shade of a cottonwood that looked as if it had gathered stories for a century. He was not old the way trees are old, but the lines on his face mapped choices. He wore a shirt sewn with beads that caught the light and sent it back where it belonged. His eyes held neither anger nor surprise, just the steady weight of command. Nayeli spoke to him first in Comanche, a low run of syllables, braided with respect and heat. Red Hawk listened, then looked at Sam. "You say you bought the horse," the chief said. His voice carried the clean edges of a man who had no interest in wasting breath. "I did," Sam said. $8, a stable boy with freckles. I didn't know it belonged to you." "And now?" Red Hawk asked. "Now I know," Sam said, "and I'll make it right if there's a way a poor man can." Red Hawk studied him. "The traitor," he said, tasting the word as if it were spoiled. "Tanner. He takes from all. He smiles while taking." "I aim to see him again," Sam said, "one way or another." "Perhaps you will," the chief said. "Perhaps that is not the question we are asking." "What question is that?" Sam asked. Red Hawk let the pause do some of the talking. "What is a man worth without his horse?" he said, "and what is he worth with only his word?" Sam felt the truth of it hit square. He had no horse that wasn't stolen, no coin that wasn't laughable, no weapon that mattered. But he had words shaped by the weight he carried, and some days that meant more than steel. "I'll return Daisy," he said, and the mare flicked an ear as if grateful to be done with him. "I'll work off the insult. I'll find Tanner if I can. I'll do what I've got the strength to do." Nayeli watched him with a face like a sealed letter. Red Hawk nodded once, and the nod settled a balance Sam couldn't see. "You will stay until the sun returns twice," the chief said. "We will see if your word is a thing with legs. You will help, you will listen. If you run, we will bring you back, and you will not enjoy being back." "Fair," Sam said. He'd known unfair. This wasn't it. A woman set a clay bowl in front of him, stew rich with smoke and spice. Hunger rushed him. He ate slow, grateful, letting the food convince his bones to be hopeful again. Around the camp, evening moved with the hush of something sacred. Men repaired tack. Children tumbled and shrieked. The old dog finally lay down with a sigh so human it made Sam smile. Later, under a sky torn open with stars, he sat near a small fire and turned the rifle in his hands. Nayeli stepped out of the dark and sat across from him. He didn't start, though she moved without noise. "You were a soldier," she said, not asking. "Once," he answered. "Seems like a story I borrowed from someone else." "War makes thieves of stories," she said, "and thieves of men." "I never meant to steal your horse," he said. "I know," she said, and the two words surprised him more than anything else that day. They listened to the night for a few breaths. Somewhere a flute found its way into a tune that was part river, part wind. "Nayeli," he said, testing the name like it required care. "Why did you ride at the front?" She didn't blink. "Because I'm best at finding what was taken," she said, "and bringing it back." He thought of Tanner, the smiling slice of him, and how a man like that thought nothing could be brought back once he'd put his hands on it. Sam felt a small, unwelcome flicker in his chest. Hope, maybe, or a memory of it. "Then maybe you're the person I need to know," he said. "Maybe," she answered, standing, "but do not mistake your need for permission." She looked down at the warped rifle. "Fix that. Broken things invite weakness." He watched her walk away, feeling as if he'd been weighed and not yet found lacking, which was mercy by another name. The fire settled into coals. He lay on the ground and counted the breaths until sleep took them. In the morning he would carry water, patch fence, do whatever hands could do to judge a man who'd said he'd stay. He would return Daisy. He would keep his word if it killed him. Some debts asked to be paid twice. Some debts asked to be lived. He fell asleep with the rifle across his chest, like a bad habit refusing to leave. Beyond the ridge, the trade Sam thought he made turns into a bargain he never saw coming. And the price won't be in dollars. It'll be in courage. Sam Callahan rode into Coyote Bend with $8 and a broken rifle, bought a stolen horse from a lying stable boy, and ended up surrounded by Comanche riders led by Nayeli, daughter of Chief Red Hawk. Now he's been taken to their camp, and the desert's about to decide what kind of man he really is. Morning came cold and blue in the canyon of the Comanche. Smoke rose thin from cook fires, and the smell of roasting corn mixed with the dust. Sam woke under a hide blanket that wasn't his, a kindness he didn't expect. His shoulders ached, his pride worse. Daisy stood tethered nearby, flicking her tail as if she'd already forgiven him. He hadn't earned that. He sat up slow, feeling eyes on him. The camp moved with a rhythm he didn't yet understand. Women grinding maize, men saddling horses, children laughing like the world wasn't rough. Everything had purpose. even silence. Sam, meanwhile, was trying to figure out if breathing counted as trespassing. Nayeli appeared out of the morning glare, hair braided with bone and copper. She didn't greet him. She just said, "You work," and pointed toward the river where men were hauling water in clay jars. He stood. "You planning to keep me as labor or hostage?" "Both, maybe," she said. "You owe and you live. That's more than most get." He followed her down to the river, the dry gravel crunching under his boots. The men there didn't talk to him, but they didn't strike him either, which felt like progress. He filled jar after jar, hands raw from the clay's rough edges. Every time he tried to meet their eyes, they looked through him, polite as ghosts. The message was clear. Work first, belong later. Around noon, a boy brought him a bowl of beans and meat, said nothing, and left before Sam could thank him. He sat by a fire to eat. Across the camp, Nayeli was sparring with two young warriors, moving like wind through grass, clean, precise, unstoppable. The men circled, testing her reach, but she dropped them both in seconds, staff cracking against dirt. She saw Sam watching and didn't smile, but her chin lifted, just enough to say, "Remember who you're dealing with." He did. He'd seen men with her kind of confidence before, in battlefields where death was a neighbor. He respected it, even envied it. When the sun was high, Chief Red Hawk called for him. Sam approached, wiping sweat from his face, trying not to limp from the day's work. "You did as told," the chief said. "Good. Now we speak." Sam nodded. "I didn't come to cause trouble, sir. I just got caught in it." Red Hawk studied him. "A man who loses his horse and keeps his word is still a man. A man who loses his word has nothing." "I'm trying to keep mine," Sam said. "I'll return the horse, or pay if I ever get more than lint in stories." The chief looked toward the horizon. "The traitor you lost to, Tanner. He cheats all men. He comes to our lands again soon, with soldiers who buy lies." I would see that stopped. Sam's jaw tightened. "You mean the same man who took my horse and my luck? He's heading here?" "Yes," Red Hawk said. "He brings rifles, promises trade, but promises rot when they come from men like him." Sam thought of that smirk, the cards sliding just a little too perfect. "Then we've got the same problem." Nayeli stepped forward, arms folded. "You think you can help us? You with your broken gun?" He lifted it from his shoulder, showed the bent barrel. "It may not shoot, but I still know how to aim." For the first time, she almost laughed. "You speak foolish, but your eyes tell truth." Her father said, "You will go with her to the traitor's trail. See what Tanner brings. You tell me, then maybe you go free." Sam looked from one to the other. "So I'm a scout now?" "You are a debt paying itself," Red Hawk said. "The land will decide if it accepts your payment." That night, while the camp sang low songs by the fires, Nayeli sat beside him, sharpening an arrowhead. The sparks jumped between them like small, impatient spirits. "You could run," she said without looking up. "Many men do." "Running got me here," Sam said. "I'll try something new, staying put." "You talk like you carry ghosts," she said. "I do. They're light travelers, but they never shut up." She looked up then, and in the firelight her face softened. "If you speak truth, you might live long enough to see Tanner again. And if I don't?" "Then you'll still see him," she said, "just from under the ground." He smiled, faint and tired. "Guess that's motivation." They rode at dawn, just the two of them, Daisy trailing behind. The desert ahead stretched endless, a sea of red and gold, where the heat already shimmered. They didn't speak much. Words felt like things that could scare the quiet away. But there was something between them, uneasy respect, the start of trust, or maybe the first echo of something more dangerous. By midday, they reached the ridge. From there, they could see wagon tracks winding across the plain. In the distance, dust rose again, the mark of travelers. Sam pulled out a piece of glass from his pocket, held it to his eye like a makeshift spyglass. "2 wagons," he said. "Maybe a dozen men. Tanner's there. I'd bet my last $8. Nayeli shaded her eyes. "They carry rifles." "Yeah," Sam said. "And he carries greed. That's worse." "Then we watch," she said, "and we learn." As the wagons creaked below, Sam felt the first stirrings of something unfamiliar. Purpose. Not revenge yet. Something simpler. Maybe redemption wearing its boots for the first time in years. Nayeli leaned close enough for him to feel her breath. "You see what he does," she whispered. "And when my father asks, you tell the truth." "I can do that," he said. "I'm about due to tell it again." They waited until the sun slid low, shadows stretching like fingers over the land. Down below, Tanner laughed with the soldiers, tossing coins and promises. Sam watched, quiet, every heartbeat hammering old memories awake. The man who'd stolen from him was now stealing from a whole people. When Tanner's laughter echoed off the cliffs, Sam's hand tightened on the broken rifle. Nayeli saw it. "Not yet," she said. "The day will come. The land remembers." He nodded, letting the anger breathe but not burn. For the first time in years, he was listening to something bigger than his own misery. By nightfall, Tanner's wagons rolled deeper into Comanche land, carrying more than rifles. They carry betrayal. And Sam's about to find out that debts don't end when the money's gone. Sam Callahan, working to repay his debt, joined Nayeli on a watch mission. From the ridges above Red Mesa, they saw Jed Tanner's wagons creeping across Comanche land, loaded with rifles, soldiers, and bad intentions. The air is heavy with the kind of silence that comes right before everything breaks. The night pressed against them like a held breath. Sam and Nayeli crouched among the rocks, the campfires below flickering in orange pools. Tanner's wagon stood in a tight half circle, canvas gleaming pale in the moonlight. Men laughed, drank, and cleaned their rifles. The sound carried sharp in the still air, and Sam felt it crawl along his nerves. "Same laugh," Sam whispered. "Could hear it in my sleep." Nayeli tilted her head, eyes following his line of sight. "That is the man who took from you?" "That's him," Sam said. "Jed Tanner. He cheats because he's too lazy to steal proper." They watched as Tanner stepped close to a soldier, unrolled a piece of cloth, and pulled something from it. Thin metal rods, polished and new. "Rifle parts," Sam murmured. "Henry repeaters, most likely. He's selling them off the books." Nayeli's jaw clenched. "Those guns kill my people." "They'll kill anyone who pays late," Sam said. That's how Tanner works. For a moment, neither spoke. The night hissed with crickets and the low thud of horses stamping. Sam shifted his weight, slow, careful, eyes never leaving the firelight below. Then something broke the quiet, a shout. One of Tanner's men stumbled from the camp, pointing toward the ridge. "Movement!" Sam ducked, pulling Nayeli down beside him. A bullet snapped past, sparking against stone. "Guess they saw us," he muttered. "Go!" Nayeli hissed. They ran, boots kicking gravel, hearts punching in their chests. The canyon floor fell away beneath them as they slid down a loose slope, rocks tumbling like thunder. Horses whinnied below. Men shouted. Another shot too close. They reached the dry wash at the bottom, crouched behind a boulder. Sam's breath came ragged. "You armed?" Nayeli pulled a knife from her belt, eyes shining. "Always." "Good," Sam said, checking his rifle out of habit. The lever jammed halfway. "Mine's more decorative than useful." "Then run faster," she said. They sprinted through the wash, the moonlight cutting through clouds, painting everything in silver and blood. Behind them, hooves thundered. The sound grew, 2 riders, maybe 3. Sam grabbed Nayeli's arm, pointed toward a narrow cleft in the rock wall. "There!" They squeezed through, scraping shoulders against stone. The passage twisted, then opened onto a ledge high above the canyon. Below, the riders reined in, scanning the darkness. Nayeli pressed a hand against the rock, catching her breath. "You know this land?" "Not yet," Sam said, grinning despite himself. "But I'm getting acquainted real quick." She looked at him then, longer than before, measuring the man who'd stumbled into her world and somehow kept up. The moment held, brief but real, before another shot rang out, ricocheting off the cliff. "Time to move," she said. They climbed higher, scrambling over rock until the shouts below faded. The ridge leveled into a plateau, and the desert stretched before them. Open, empty, endless. We're clear, Sam said, breathing hard. For now. Nayeli turned to him. Tanner knows this land too. He will follow. Let him, Sam said. He's not the only one who can track. She tilted her head. You think you can find him again? I spent years hunting ghosts, he said. He's easier. They made camp under a crooked juniper. The stars hung heavy, close enough to touch. Sam built a small fire, its light soft against their faces. He handed Nayeli a strip of jerky from his coat pocket. She hesitated, then took it. You trust me now? He asked. I trust the land, she said. It brought you back alive. That's more credit than most folks give me. She studied him a moment longer. Why do you still chase him? Tanner. Sam stared into the flames. Because he took more than a horse. Took the part of me that believed a man could get up after falling. I want it back. Nayeli nodded slowly. Then you and my father share a hunt. When dawn cracked the horizon, they rode toward the valley where the traders' wagons had gone. The trail was clear, deep wheel ruts, hoof prints, bits of torn cloth caught on brush. But it wasn't just Tanner's trail anymore. It was soldiers too. They found the first body by noon. A soldier shot through the chest, half buried in sand. Flies buzzed lazy circles above him. Sam knelt, touched the wound. This wasn't Comanche work, he said. Clean shot. Tanner's kind. He kills his own? Nayeli asked. If it keeps him paid, yeah, they rode on. The air grew heavy, the sky a pale lid pressing down. By the time they reached the next bend, smoke drifted ahead, black rising from the valley floor. Nayeli's voice dropped. Our scouts camped there. Sam's stomach turned. Then he's already started. They galloped the last mile. The camp was ash and ruin. Tents burned, horses gone, the wind filled with the stink of powder. Sam dismounted, walked among the wreckage. 2 bodies lay near the fire pit. Arrows snapped beside them. Nayeli knelt beside one. My cousin, she whispered. Sam's throat tightened. I'm sorry. She rose slowly, eyes hard now, something ancient in them. This is not your doing, she said, but your debt grows. I'll pay it, he said quietly. Then you will help me find Tanner, she said, and you will see what justice means where I come from. The words settled between them like an oath. As the sun fell, the smoke turned purple against the sky. They rode north, following the trail of the wagons. Sam's broken rifle lay across his lap, useless but somehow right where it belonged. He looked at Nayeli, her posture straight and steady, and wondered if he'd been traded by fate after all. His horse for a cause, his luck for a second chance. The desert wind whispered around them, dry and endless. Ahead, the ridge curved east, where vengeance waited like a storm ready to break. By the time the stars rise again, Tanner's men will strike back, and the hunter will become the hunted. Sam's about to find out what the desert demands when blood spills on its sand. Sam and Nayeli escaped Tanner's gunfire through the canyons of Red Mesa. They tracked him across the desert only to find a Comanche scout camp burned to ash, and Nayeli's cousin among the dead. Now, vengeance isn't just a mission, it's personal. The night that followed didn't feel like night at all. The moon hung red and swollen, spilling light over the canyon like blood and water. The wind moved slow, dragging the smell of smoke behind it. Sam and Nayeli rode in silence, their shadows long and restless. Sam kept thinking about the camp, the smell of burnt hide, the quiet bodies. He'd seen death before, plenty of it, but this had a different weight. These weren't soldiers. They were people who'd taken him in, fed him, trusted him enough to let him breathe the same air. Finally, he said, I've seen men do bad things for money. But this was just to send a message. Nayeli didn't look at him. He sent one, she said. Now we send ours. They reached a hollow at the base of the cliffs before dawn, a pocket of earth hidden from the trails. A few riders waited there, Comanche scouts, their faces hard with grief. One of them stepped forward, young but already carved by anger. Nayeli, he said, bowing his head slightly, we found where Tanner camps tonight, near Dry Creek, 2 hours ride, many rifles, Many soldiers. Nayeli nodded. We strike when the sun touches the mesa. The scout's eyes flicked to Sam. He rides with us? He owes blood, she said. He pays beside us. Sam didn't argue. He just adjusted the strap on his busted rifle, knowing it wouldn't help much, but feeling naked without it. As they prepared, Nayeli handed him a bow. Use this, she said. Straight wood, not like your gun. He took it, tested the string. Haven't held one since I was a boy. Then remember fast, she said. They rode first light, silent as ghosts. The desert seemed to hold its breath with them, waiting. When they reached the ridge above Dry Creek, Sam saw Tanner's camp sprawled below. 2 wagons, 4 soldiers, and Tanner himself near the fire, his hat tilted low like he owned the sunrise. Looks smaller than I thought, Sam said. Snake looks small too, Nayeli answered. Till it bites. They dismounted and crept along the ridge. The plan was simple. Cut them off from the horses, strike quick, leave none able to bring the soldiers back. Sam's heart thudded slow but heavy. This wasn't revenge anymore. It was duty. At Nayeli's signal, arrows flew. The first caught a soldier in the throat. Another dropped before he could reach his rifle. Tanner spun, shouting, grabbing for his gun. Sam drew the bow back, sighted him, but his hands shook just enough to spoil the shot. The arrow went wide, skimming Tanner's shoulder. Callahan, Tanner roared. You again? He fired into the ridge, the bullets sparking rock. Guess he remembers me, Sam muttered. The camp erupted into chaos. Horses screamed, men cursed, fire spilled. Sam ran down the slope, half sliding, half falling, his feet digging into dust. A soldier swung his rifle up, but Nayeli was faster. Her arrow sank into his chest before he could aim. Tanner grabbed one of the wagons, whipping the horses hard. The wheels lurched, then jolted free, crashing through the sand. Sam chased after, lungs burning, legs screaming. Tanner, he shouted. The traitor twisted around, firing once, twice. One bullet tore through Sam's sleeve, grazing his arm. The wagon hit a rut, jolted, and Tanner fell hard into the dirt. His gun skittered away. Sam reached him in 3 strides, boot kicking it aside. End of the road, Sam said. Tanner spat dust, grinning that same slick grin. You gonna kill me, soldier? That what'll make you clean? Sam froze. For a heartbeat, desert vanished, and the past came roaring back. Smoke, cannon fire, men screaming for mercy that never came. He'd done his killing then. Too much of it. I'm done with that, he said, but you'll answer to someone who isn't. Behind him, Nayeli appeared, bow drawn. Tanner looked up at her and sneered. Go on, sweetheart. Make it quick. Her face didn't move. The arrow didn't shake. When she spoke, her voice was flat as the horizon. Quick is mercy. You don't get mercy. The arrow struck. Tanner's body jerked, then fell still. Sam stood quiet for a long moment, staring at the sand. He was mine to stop, he said softly. Nayeli lowered her bow. He was mine to avenge. The fire crackled nearby, the only sound left in the valley. Sam knelt beside Tanner's body and pulled a small pouch from his coat, coins, a folded map, and a note scrawled in Tanner's sharp, proud hand. It read, Deliver 50 rifles to Fort Camden by week's end. Payment doubled upon silence. Sam looked at Nayeli. Fort Camden's next, he said. Soldiers will be waiting for guns that aren't coming. Then we go to your fort, she said. You will speak for what he did. That'll go over fine, Sam said dryly. A Comanche woman and a washed-up cavalryman walk into a fort. Can't see how that ends well. Then we make them listen, Nayeli said. If they do not hear words, they will hear truth another way. They buried Tanner where he fell, stones stacked over him like the weight of his sins. Sam watched the dust rise from his hands, wondering if some part of his own guilt was buried there too. As they rode back toward the canyon, the sun burned high, harsh and unforgiving. The wind shifted, carrying the smell of iron and ashes away. You could have let me take the shot, Sam said after a while. You needed to see it done, Nayeli said. Not by your hand, by justice's. He nodded, slow. Guess justice has a better aim. She gave him a look, half respect, half warning. Do not test it. By sunset, they reached the cliffs overlooking the valley, the same ridge where it all started. Sam looked out over the land, endless and red, and felt something settle inside him. Not peace exactly, just a kind of balance. $8 and a broken rifle, he said, half to himself. Didn't think it'd buy me this far. Nayeli looked at him sideways. You still owe, she said. Yeah, he said. I know. They rode on as the last light slipped behind the mesas, two silhouettes moving toward whatever came next. The desert swallowed their trail, as it always did. But the story was just getting teeth. Word of Tanner's death won't die quietly. By the time Sam and Nayeli reach the fort, every side will want a piece of the truth, and the line between peace and war will blur to dust. Tanner is dead, but his rifles and the lies behind them still breathe trouble. Sam and Nayeli rode back to Red Hawk's camp with a map, a note, and a debt heavier than any saddlebag. The chief's eyes say what the desert already knows. Justice isn't finished. When they reached the Comanche camp, the sky was the color of hammered copper. Smoke drifted lazy from the fires, the kind that told of quiet evenings and tired hearts. But this evening wasn't quiet. Word of Tanner's death had arrived before them, and the air was charged, half approval, half question. Red Hawk stood outside his lodge, tall and still. Nayeli dismounted first, bowed her head briefly, then stepped aside. Sam followed, dust clinging to his clothes and conscience. The chief's voice carried low but hard. You bring back his head? No, Sam said. We buried him. Didn't seem right leaving him for the buzzards. You show him mercy, Red Hawk said. He showed us fire. Sam nodded. I've seen enough bodies left to rot. He's answered for what he did, but there's more behind him. He worked for men at Fort Camden, soldiers waiting on rifles he'll never deliver. That made the camp murmur. Red Hawk raised a hand, and silence settled again. You have proof? Sam held out the note in Tanner's map. All here. His handwriting, his route, and his plan to sell those guns straight through your land. The chief studied the paper for a long time, his eyes moving slow. When he finally looked up, the anger in him wasn't the kind that shouted. It was the kind that waited. This fort, he said, it has brought sickness before. They take land, water, our horses. Now they send rifles to kill our sons. You say this man's paper speaks truth? I do, Sam said, and I'll stand by it. Red Hawk handed the paper to Nayeli. Then truth must be proven, not spoken. You will take him back to Fort Camden. If the soldiers deny this, we know where they stand. If they confess, we take the weapons before they reach the valley. Nayeli nodded. And if they lie? Then they will lie to death itself, Red Hawk said. He turned to Sam. You came to us with a stolen horse and a broken gun. You brought death into our camp, and now you bring us warning. You are debt and balance together. To walk free, you must prove which one you are. I'll go, Sam said, but you should know something about soldiers. They don't like hearing the truth from men like me. Then speak with your heart instead of your tongue, the chief said. Hearts lie less. That night, Sam sat by the fire sharpening a borrowed knife. The broken rifle lay beside him, useless but loyal. Across the flames, Nayeli watched him, arms wrapped around her knees. You could stay here, she said. My father would not kill you now. Could, Sam said, but I've been running long enough. The fort's where this all started. Feels right it should be where it ends. She looked into the fire. You speak like a man who wants to die clean. He smiled, a dry, small thing. I just want to live honest, for once. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like two winds finally blowing the same way. At dawn they rode out, the desert cool and silver in the early light. A few warriors followed for a mile, then turned back. From there it was just the two of them again, their shadows stretching long across the sand. Tell me something, Sam said after a while. You ever been to a fort before? I've seen them from distance, Nayeli said. Stone and fear built together. That's about right, he said. I served in one once. Thought I was protecting something good. Turns out, all I was guarding was somebody else's lie. Then this time you guard your own truth, she said. They rode until the land began to rise, rocks giving way to scrub, then to the faint road that led north. Sam could already feel the change in the air, the kind that smelled of iron, discipline, and trouble. Near sunset, they stopped by a creek. Sam washed his hands in the cold water, watched the ripples spread and break. Nayeli stood on the bank, her hair catching the last of the light. You know, Sam said, if this goes bad, we might both end up hanging from the same tree. Better than living without reason, she said. He looked up at her, caught something in her tone, a quiet acceptance but also steel. You sound like someone who's already made peace with dying. She met his eyes. My people make peace with dying every time the sun rises. What matters is who stands beside you when it sets. Sam wanted to answer, but words would have broken the spell. Instead, he nodded and went back to the fire. By nightfall, they could see a faint glow on the horizon, the fort's lamps flickering against the dark. It looked small and far away, but the feeling in Sam's gut said otherwise. He leaned back on his bedroll, staring up at the stars. You think they'll listen? They'll hear, Nayeli said. Listening is another thing. Then I'll talk loud. She smiled, the first real one he'd seen from her. Good. Maybe your words will reach even the ones who pretend to be deaf. The desert wind shifted, carrying the faint clang of metal from the north. The fort wasn't sleeping, neither was fate. When Sam and Nayeli reach Fort Camden, they'll find more than soldiers. Old ghosts waiting, truce buried under flags, and a choice that will decide who they really are. Sam and Nayeli are riding toward Fort Camden with Tanner's map and letter, proof of the soldiers' lies. Red Hawk has called it Sam's test, to see if he's dead or balanced. The fort's lamps glow on the horizon, and both riders know that the closer they get, the heavier truth becomes. The road turned from sand to hard-packed clay, pale in the moonlight. Sam could already smell the fort before he saw it. Coal smoke, old sweat, gun oil. By the time the sun climbed over the ridge, Fort Camden rose from the plain like a square-jawed scar. Stone walls, watchtowers, and a flag limp from the night's wind. Keep your head low, he said quietly. These folks shoot first when they're confused. I will let you speak, Nayeli said, reins loose in her hand. Your world listens to its own voice. That's the problem, Sam said. They hid the horses among the mesquite and walked the last stretch on foot. Sam's heart hammered the closer they got to the gate. He hadn't worn the blue coat in years, but the memory of it itched under his skin. The sentry at the gate squinted. Name and business? Samuel Callahan, he said. Used to serve under Captain Boyd. I've got information about a trader named Jed Tanner. Important, the guard frowned. Boyd's still commanding. Wait here. Minutes stretched. When the gates creaked open, Sam saw the yard much as he'd left it years ago. Mud, barrels, the clang of hammer on anvil. Captain Boyd stepped out of the barracks, older now, paunch under his belt, eyes sharp with suspicion. Well, I'll be damned, Boyd said. Callahan, thought you drunk yourself into the ground. Almost did, Sam said. Got a reason to stand up again. He pulled the folded note from Tanner's pocket. You recognize this? Boyd took it, scanned the writing. For a heartbeat, his jaw tightened. Then he handed it back like it was nothing. Never saw it before. Sam felt the lie slide between them. You sure? Tanner's dead. You're on that list as payment receiver. Boyd's eyes flicked to Nayeli. You bringing me savages now, Callahan? What game you playing? She's here because your traitor burned her people, Sam said. You sold him rifles to do it. Boyd smiled thin. That's a dangerous accusation. It's a true one. 2 soldiers stepped closer, rifles lowered but ready. Sam felt the heat rise up his neck. He'd known it might go this way. Boyd waved a hand. You and your friend will stay put till we sort this out. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. Nayeli's voice cut through the yard. We came with truth. You answer with chains? Boyd sneered. Truth's whatever flies the flag, girl. Sam moved before he thought, shoving the captain back a step. The soldiers lunged. He ducked one, swung his elbow into the other's gut, but there were too many. A rifle butt caught him across the shoulder. Nayeli kicked one down, fast and fierce, before another guard pinned her arms. Boyd straightened his jacket. Lock them in the powder shed. I'll decide what to do when I've cooled off. They were shoved inside the dark shed, door barred behind them. The air smelled of dust and saltpeter. Light slipped through a crack, cutting a thin gold line across Nayeli's face. You warned me, she said softly. I hoped I'd be wrong, Sam answered, wincing as he touched his shoulder. They fear the truth, she said. That makes them weak. He sat back against the wall. Weak men with guns still get to write history. Outside, boots scuffed, voices murmured. Sam caught Boyd's tone, tight, angry. He was arguing with someone. After a while, the door creaked open, just enough for a figure to slip through. A young soldier, maybe 20, pale and nervous. Sir, he whispered, I shouldn't be here, but what you said, it's true. Tanner delivered crates marked farm tools. We all knew. Sam leaned forward. Then help us. Let us out. The boy shook his head. Can't. They'd hang me. But tonight, when the watch changes, the gate'll be light. He pressed a canteen into Sam's hands and slipped away again. When the door shut, Nayeli looked at him. He fears death, but still helped. Maybe not all hearts here are rotten. Maybe, Sam said, but Boyd's planning something worse. He can't let word spread that he armed raids. As night fell, footsteps grew distant. Sam used the metal tip of his boot to pry at the latch through the crack. It took minutes that felt like hours, but the hinge finally groaned. The door swung open to the cool dark. They slipped out, moving low between barrels. From the barracks window, a lamp burned steady. Boyd inside, writing. Sam wanted to storm in, end it, but Nayeli touched his arm. We came for truth, not more graves, she whispered. They reached the stable. Horses snorted softly, their warmth heavy in the chill air. Sam found Daisy and patted her neck. Still with me, girl, he murmured. A shout cracked the silence. They're loose! The yard exploded with noise. Rifles fired. Sam vaulted the fence, swung into the saddle, and hauled Nayeli up behind him. They tore through the gate as a bullet whined past, splintering the post. Once they'd cleared the hill, the fort fell behind them, a dim glow in the dust. Nayeli clung to him, breath hot against his neck. Now they hunt us again, she said. Story of my life, he said, spurring Daisy harder. They rode until the night swallowed the noise. Finally, when the stars steadied above them, they stopped. The desert lay quiet, wide and waiting. We have proof, Nayeli said, but no home to take it to. Sam looked back toward the distant lights. Then we'll make one, somewhere they can't twist the truth. She turned her face toward him. You speak like you believe that. For the first time in a long while, he said, I do. She looked away, toward the horizon. Then tomorrow we ride to my father, and we bring the sun with us. The fort's lies have been exposed, and the army will want blood. As Sam and Nayeli race back to Red Mesa, the desert will test them one last time before it lets them reach home. Sam and Nayeli escape Fort Camden with the truth and the army at their heels. Captain Boyd has branded them traitors, and the desert is the only cover left. They're riding hard for Red Mesa, carrying proof of corruption, and the army's wrath right behind them. The dawn broke hard and red over the plains, the kind of light that made everything look like it was on fire. Sam rode ahead, Daisy's hooves pounding a rhythm that felt too fast to last. Behind him, Nayeli rode silent, her hair whipping like a dark banner in the wind. They hadn't slept since the escape. The fort had stirred the hornet's nest good and proper, 24 riders now scouring the desert, soldiers who didn't much care whether they brought back the truth or just two bodies. Keep west of the dry wash, Sam called. It splits the tracks. Might buy us an hour. Nayeli nodded, saying nothing. The desert wind tore at their clothes, stinging their faces with grit. After an hour, Sam spotted a ridge that looked like broken teeth, jagged rocks rising from the sand. They reined in, dismounted, and led the horses into the shadows. Rest them, he said. They're running on ghosts. Nayeli slid down, her eyes scanning the horizon. They will not stop, she said. Your people don't stop until they forget what they're chasing. He smiled, dry and bitter. Then we'll remind them soon enough. They shared what little water they had, the silence between them, filled with the rasp of breathing and the ticking of cooling metal. Sam checked the rifle, the barrel still warped, the chamber jammed. You ever think maybe I should have just sold this hunk of iron for scrap? Nayeli looked up from tying Daisy's reins. It still carries your story. Broken doesn't mean useless, he grinned. I'll take that as encouragement. They didn't see the scouts until it was almost too late. A flash of sunlight on metal, then the crack of rifles. Bullets tore dust at their feet. Go, Sam shouted. They mounted, tearing through the ridge as lead chased them. The desert exploded with sound, echoes, hooves, shouts. One bullet nicked Daisy's flank. She staggered, recovered, kept running. Sam felt her tremble under him. Nayeli rode beside him, bow in hand. She turned in the saddle and let an arrow fly. One soldier fell, the others scattered just enough to buy space. They reached the canyon edge where the ground dropped steep into a dry riverbed. No way around, no time to think. Sam yanked the reins and shouted, "Hold on!" They plunged over the lip. Sand gave way beneath them, sliding, crashing, half falling down the slope. Daisy stumbled but stayed upright. When they hit bottom, Sam turned and fired once. The rifle barked smoke and missed fire, but the noise made the pursuers hesitate. That was all he needed. This way, he yelled. They rode along the dry river, the walls closing in, the sound of hooves muffled now by sand. At last, when the canyon bent west, he pulled up short. Ahead lay a narrow opening, a hidden trail cutting through the rock. Nayeli looked at him. You knew this place. Used it once, he said. Long time ago. Smugglers used to call it the Devil's Vein. Nobody follows far, too narrow for more than one horse. They slipped through, single file. The passage wound like a serpent, the walls sweating trickles of red clay. The air was cool, whispering. Behind them, the sound of pursuit faded, swallowed by stone. When they emerged hours later, the desert had changed. The land opened wide again, dotted with yucca and brittle sage. Sam stopped and looked up. The sun hung low, gold bleeding into the mesas. We're close, he said. 2 more days to Red Mesa if we ride light. Nayeli nodded, eyes still scanning the ridge. They will not quit, she said. Even if they lose sight, they will follow the trail of shame. Sam chuckled softly. Guess that makes shame more powerful than bullets. That night they made camp in a shallow basin, small fire, no talk for a while. The stars came out sharp and white. Sam sat with his knees drawn up, turning Tanner's note in his fingers. Proof, he said quietly. Strange how one sheet of paper weighs more than a rifle. Nayeli stirred the fire. Words have teeth, she said. They bite longer than lead. He looked at her across the flames. You ever get tired of being right? I was born tired, she said, but her lips curved slightly. The sound of coyotes echoed far off, lonely and thin. Sam stared into the flames. Boyd won't let this die. He'll tell the army we're deserters, thieves, traitors, you name it. The truth's worth less than gossip out here. Then we make it worth more, she said. When we bring this to my father, the tribes will hear. The land will hear. He met her eyes. You think your father will listen after all the blood? He will if I tell him why it was spilled. She shifted closer, just enough that her shoulder brushed his. The contact was brief but steady, like an unspoken promise. The fire popped, sending sparks into the dark. Sam, she said quietly, if you die, what will you leave behind? He thought for a moment, then smiled without joy. Maybe a lesson that a man's worth ain't measured by what he keeps, but by what he finally gives back. That is good, she said. That is enough. He looked at her then. Really looked. The firelight caught her eyes, and for the first time in a long while, he felt something other than survival. It scared him more than any bullet. They slept close to the embers, the kind of uneasy rest that comes when danger and peace sit side by side. At dawn, Sam woke to the sound of wind. Not gentle wind, wind that carried sand like blades. A storm rolling in from the east. He stood, watching the horizon turn dark. Sandstorm, he said. Big one. Nayeli rose, pulling her scarf tight. Then the desert will hide us, or bury us, he said. They packed quick and rode into the storm. The world vanished into swirling gold and red. The wind screamed, and the horses stumbled through the blinding grit. Sam could barely see Nayeli ahead, just her silhouette in the chaos. For hours they fought the storm. When it finally broke, the world was silent again, half covered in new dunes. Sam spat sand, blinking grit from his eyes. Well, he said hoarsely, that's one way to lose a trail. Nayeli looked back toward the east, where the soldier's path was buried under waves of dust. The land hides us, she said. It remembers who we are. Sam smiled, weary but alive. Then maybe it's finally on our side. They rode on toward Red Mesa, the sky clear again, the wind calmer now, as if the desert itself had chosen who it wanted to keep. By the time Sam and Nayeli reach Red Mesa, the army won't be far behind, and the tribe, torn between vengeance and fear, will have to decide if Sam's truth is worth another war. The desert storm saved Sam and Nayeli from Boyd's soldiers, burying their trail beneath red dunes. Now, as the land clears and silence returns, they're only a day from Red Mesa, carrying the truth that could stop another war or start one. By late afternoon, the world began to look familiar again. The sun dipped low, stretching shadows across the land, painting the rocks the color of dried blood. Ahead, smoke rose thin and straight. Comanche fires. Home for her, reckoning for him. Sam slowed Daisy to a walk. His shoulder still ached from Fort Camden's rifle butt, but the pain was a reminder he was still alive. We should think about how we tell this, he said. If your father thinks soldiers are marching on him, he might strike first. Nayeli didn't look back. My father listens before he strikes, but not twice. Then we best make that one time count. When they reached the camp, it wasn't the same place Sam remembered. The air felt tighter. Men stood at the edges with bows ready, watching, waiting. Children stayed close to the fires. The songs that once floated through the wind were gone. Red Hawk stood outside his lodge, the sunset behind him. His face was carved stone, unreadable. You returned, he said. Nayeli dismounted, bowed slightly. We bring proof, Father. The traitor's death was not the end. The fort planned more. Sam stepped forward, holding out the folded papers, the map, the note, and now a small leather pouch stamped with the Army's seal. Captain Boyd's orders, he said. He supplied Tanner, and he'll come for your land when the guns stop pointing at the border. Red Hawk took the papers, looked at them long, then tossed them into the fire. The parchment curled, blackening at the edges. Sam's stomach dropped. You burned the truth, he said. I know truth already, Red Hawk said. I wanted to see if the fire would change it. It did not. Nayeli frowned. Then why burn it? Because it means nothing to the ones who come, Red Hawk said. They do not read our words. They read our silence. They will come whether we hold papers or spears. Sam took a breath. Then we make them see something else. Proof that Boyd betrayed his own men. That there's more to gain in peace than in blood. The chief's eyes fixed on him. And you would stand before soldiers again? The same men who locked you in chains? If that's what it takes, Sam said. They'll call me traitor, but I'm used to that. The silence that followed was heavy as dusk. The warriors shifted, murmuring low. Red Hawk finally spoke. You were once soldier. Now you speak like man of no tribe, no flag. Why? Sam met his gaze. Because I've seen what both do to good people. Flags don't bury the dead, mothers do. If you strike the fort now, they'll paint you as savages. But if you wait, let me speak first, they'll have to hear the truth before they fire. Red Hawk's expression didn't change, but his voice softened. You speak like man who knows death's language. I do, Sam said. I just don't want to translate it anymore. Nayeli stepped closer. Father, if we fight now, we lose more than men. We lose what we are. Let him speak. The chief studied his daughter for a long time, and for the first time since they'd arrived, something human flickered in his eyes. You defend him as if he were one of us. He fights beside us, Nayeli said. The land chose him. That made the old man's mouth twitch. Not a smile, but the ghost of one. Then the land will judge him again. At dawn, he speaks before the council. If they believe his words, we ride to the fort with him. If not, his eyes went to Sam's rifle. The broken gun will find its final rest. Sam nodded. Fair enough. That night, the camp filled with low talk and flickering shadows. Warriors gathered around the central fire, their faces half lit, half dark. Sam sat a little apart, staring into the flames. Nayeli sat beside him, close enough for warmth but quiet. They don't trust me, he said. They shouldn't, she said softly. Trust is earned, not traded. He chuckled. You've got your father's way with words. And your habit of making things worse, she added. He looked at her, a spark of tired humor in his eyes. Guess that makes us even? They fell quiet again. The fire cracked, sparks rising to the stars. The desert wind whispered through the camp, carrying 100 unsaid things. After a while, Nayeli spoke, almost to herself. If the council believes you, there will be peace, for a time. If they do not. I know, Sam said. Then I'll walk into the fort alone. You would die there. Maybe, but dying for something honest beats living with ghosts. She turned to look at him. The firelight made her eyes bright and wet. You speak like man ready for the end. He smiled faintly. I've been ready before. Never got the chance to finish. When the night deepened, drums began to beat softly, a rhythm older than language. Men and women circled the fire, whispering prayers for the dawn. Sam listened, the sound curling through him, strange and beautiful. As he watched, Nayeli stood, walked toward the flames and lifted her hands. The drums slowed. The firelight flickered over her face. She's speaking for you, a voice murmured behind Sam. He turned to see an old warrior, his eyes cloudy but sharp in spirit. That's rare. She believes you carry truth. Don't make her wrong. Sam looked back toward the fire, where Nayeli's shadow moved like part of the smoke. I'll try not to, he said quietly. He didn't sleep much that night. The stars felt closer than ever, and the desert colder. He watched Nayeli's silhouette against the embers, the shape of someone who carried more faith than he deserved. By dawn, the camp gathered. Red Hawk stood tall at the council fire, his warriors forming a circle around him. Sam stepped forward, dust rising under his boots. Speak, the chief said. Sam looked around at the faces, some curious, some hostile, all waiting. I came here a fool with $8 and a broken rifle, he began. I thought I'd lost everything worth fighting for. But I found something out here. People who still believe in honor when the world's forgotten it. He took a breath. The army's coming. Captain Boyd sent Tanner to start a war and sell guns to both sides. But if we hold our ground and show them the truth, they'll see what's really burning out here. Greed, not savagery. The words hung in the air like smoke. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the old warrior who'd spoken to Sam stepped forward. He speaks straight, he said, and straight men are rare. Others murmured. Red Hawk's gaze flicked between them, then back to Sam. You will lead the ride to the fort, he said finally. If you lie, you die first. Sam nodded once. Fair trade. Nayeli exhaled slowly, relief and fear tangled together. As the sun cleared the mesa, Sam looked east, toward Fort Camden, toward Boyd, toward the reckoning waiting there. The desert stretched endless in gold, whispering the same word again and again. Truth. The next ride won't be about escape. It'll be about confrontation. Sam and Nayeli will lead Red Hawk's riders to Fort Camden, where truth and fire will meet face to face. At dawn in Red Mesa, Sam stood before Red Hawk's council and spoke truth, of Tanner, of Boyd, of corruption in the fort. The council believed him enough to ride. Now Sam and Nayeli lead a column of Comanche riders east toward Fort Camden, where honesty and blood are about to share the same road. The sun climbed slow, baking the sand white before mid-morning. Sam rode at the front beside Nayeli, her face unreadable beneath the edge of her scarf. Behind them, 24 warriors moved like part of the land, silent, focused, each step measured. They'd been riding since dawn. The fort was still a smudge on the horizon, a square shadow waiting under the flag. Sam's hands gripped the reins tight. Daisy's ears flicked at every gust of wind. "You could still turn back," Nayeli said quietly. He shook his head. "If I do, everything we've done burns with the papers your father tossed in the fire. The truth dies twice." She studied him for a moment. "Then ride with your eyes open. Truth blinds those who don't respect it." They crested a hill. From there, Sam could see the fort clearly. The outer wall, the smoke from the smithy, the faint glint of rifles in the watchtower. The same place that once gave him orders now waited to kill him for defying them. The riders halted. Red Hawk raised his hand. "We go no further until they know our reason," he said. "You speak for us, Callahan." Sam swallowed hard. "Then let's hope I remember how." He nudged Daisy forward alone. The distance between him and the warriors behind felt like an ocean. When he was halfway down the slope, he saw the gate stir. A few soldiers appeared on the wall, then Captain Boyd himself. Boyd's voice carried across the plain. "Well, look who crawled back. You bring friends this time, Callahan? Planning another mutiny?" Sam called back, loud and clear. "You armed a traitor to start a war, Boyd. You sent him to burn their camps and blame them for it. I've got proof enough in your own handwriting." Boyd laughed, the sound brittle as bone. "You think anyone up there cares? You're a deserter, boy. They'll hang you before you finish that speech." Sam pointed toward the riders on the ridge. "They're not the ones you can hang, Captain. They're the ones who'll remember. The land remembers too." Boyd's smile faltered. "You're a fool, Callahan." He turned to the soldiers behind him. "Ready the guns." Sam could see the movement. Men at the wall, powder being packed, the dull metallic clicks that meant death was waking up. He spurred Daisy back toward the ridge. "They're loading the cannon." Red Hawk gave a single sharp command in Comanche. The warriors spread out, vanishing behind the dunes, the way a storm disappears only to build elsewhere. Nayeli grabbed Sam's arm. "They'll fire first." He looked back at the fort. "Yeah," he said, "but they won't fire last." The first cannon blast tore the silence apart. Dirt exploded 100 feet short of the ridge. Daisy reared. Sam held her steady. Another shot, closer. The air filled with grit and the smell of burnt powder. Red Hawk's men moved fast. Arrows lit with pitch, sailing through the air, landing on the fort's outer wagons. Flames caught in the dry wood, spreading quick. The soldiers panicked, some firing blind into the smoke. Sam drew the warped rifle. "Guess it's time you earned your keep," he muttered, bracing the weapon. He fired once. The gun kicked hard, coughing smoke, but the bullet struck the flagpole. The flag tore loose, flapping down into the fire below. "Good shot," Nayeli shouted. "More luck than aim," he said, grinning through the chaos. Through the smoke, Sam saw Boyd retreat toward the command post. "He's running," Sam said. "He's got to have papers. Proof he sold those rifles." Red Hawk's voice rose behind him. "Then go take them." Sam looked at Nayeli. "You with me?" She pulled her bow from her shoulder. "Always." They charged downhill through the smoke. Horses screamed, bullets whined. The air stank of burning pitch and iron. Sam leaped from the saddle at the broken gate, shoulder first, pain flaring white. Nayeli slipped in behind him, covering his side with 2 quick arrows. They pushed through the yard, soldiers scattering, coughing through smoke. Inside the command post, Boyd stood at a table, a pistol in one hand, papers in the other. "It didn't have to be this way," Boyd said. "You're right," Sam said. "You could have told the truth." Boyd fired. The shot missed, hitting the wall inches from Sam's head. Sam lunged, slamming Boyd into the table. The papers flew, catching flame from the lantern. The 2 men crashed to the floor, fists, curses, memories all tangled. Boyd reached for the pistol again. Sam's hand found the broken rifle, swung it in one wide arc. The butt struck Boyd square across the jaw. The captain went still. Smoke thickened. Nayeli burst through the door, eyes wide. The fire's spreading! Sam grabbed what papers hadn't burned, shoving them into his coat. Got enough to hang him twice. They ran, the heat chasing them out into the yard. The wagons were blazing, smoke curling toward the sky. Red Hawk's riders were pulling back, victory loud in their shouts. Fall back, Sam yelled. We've got what we came for. They rode out just as the powder stores went up, a roar that rolled across the plains. The fort vanished in a blossom of fire and dust. From the ridge, the warriors turned to watch. Red Hawk raised his hand once more, silent. Nayeli's face was lit by the flames, fierce, sad, unbroken. Sam watched the fort burn, feeling both lighter and heavier all at once. $8 and a broken rifle, he murmured. Guess that was enough after all. Nayeli looked at him, voice soft over the crackling wind. No, Sam, it was you. They turned west, riding into the setting sun. The sky blazed behind them, and for the first time, Sam didn't feel like running from it. The fort lies in ashes, but the war for truth isn't over. In the quiet after fire, Sam must face what comes next: freedom, forgiveness, and the desert's final test. Fort Camden burns behind them. Boyd is dead, the army scattered, and the truth has finally broken loose from the smoke. Sam, Nayeli, and Red Hawk's riders turn west into the dawn. But the desert's never been a place that lets a man leave clean. The morning after the fire smelled of ash and rainless wind. The horizon still glowed faintly where the fort had stood, a bruise fading on the earth. The riders moved slow now, horses weary, faces hollowed by victory that felt too heavy to celebrate. Sam rode beside Nayeli, his coat scorched, his rifle still cracked across the stock. He couldn't stop glancing back, half expecting to see soldiers crawling from the wreckage. But there was nothing, just silence. You did it, Nayeli said quietly. He shook his head. We did, and it still doesn't feel like winning. Victory and peace are not the same, she said. He gave a small, tired smile. That's the truth nobody ever prints on the posters. They reached the ridge by midday. Below, the Red Mesa Valley spread wide and golden, dotted with the faint smoke of the Comanche camp. Red Hawk's warriors halted there, the wind tugging at their hair and feathers. The chief turned his horse toward Sam. You came to us a stranger, he said, a thief with a broken weapon. Now you return with the fire of our enemies behind you. The land has decided you are balance. Sam bowed his head slightly. I just told the truth, Chief. Truth is the hardest weapon to wield, Red Hawk said. Few keep hold of it without cutting themselves. He dismounted, walked closer, and placed a hand on Sam's shoulder. The war ends today, if we let it. Nayeli watched them, her face soft in the amber light. And if we cannot let it, then the land will start it again, Red Hawk said. It always does. They rode into camp at sunset. The people gathered, silent at first, then murmuring as the riders approached. For once, there was no anger in their eyes when they looked at Sam. Children followed the horses, curious. Old women threw handfuls of sage into the fire, a blessing for the dead. Sam dismounted slowly. Every bone in his body ached. The world felt quieter than it should have been. He caught Nayeli's eye and nodded toward the edge of camp. Walk with me? She hesitated, then followed. They stopped near the river, where the water ran shallow over smooth stones. You going to stay? She asked. I don't know, he said. Ain't much of a life for a white man out here, and not much left for me back there. You could build something new, she said. The desert forgives if you listen long enough. He looked down at the river, his reflection broken by the ripples. You really believe that? She smiled faintly. I have to. He knelt, washing the dirt from his hands, watching the water carry the soot away. Funny, he said. All my life I thought redemption was a word folks used when they wanted to sell hope. Turns out it's quieter than that. Nayeli knelt beside him. It is not sold, it is earned. He looked at her then, really looked, her face, her strength, the quiet steadiness that had carried him through fire and storm. And what about you, he asked. What'll you do now? I will remind my people that peace does not mean forgetting, she said. only choosing when to remember. He nodded slowly. Guess we're both learning how to remember without hating. The wind shifted, cool and dry, carrying the scent of sage and smoke. Sam pulled the broken rifle from his back. The barrel was twisted, the wood blackened. Guess this thing's done its share, he said. Nayeli watched as he laid it across 2 stones, then stepped back. He drew his knife, cut the strap, and tossed the rifle into the river. The current took it slow at first, then fast, until it vanished around a bend. For what it's worth, he said, I think I finally traded it right. Nayeli's eyes glimmered in the fading light. The land keeps good bargains. They stood there for a long while, neither speaking. The river whispered around them, steady and sure. When they walked back to camp, the night had settled deep. Red Hawk sat by the fire, the flames painting his face in bronze. He looked up as they approached. The fort is gone, he said, but others will come. The world does not stay still. I know, Sam said, but maybe now they'll think twice before they light another match. The chief nodded. Maybe, or maybe they will forget again. That is the curse of men who do not listen to the earth. Sam crouched beside the fire. Then maybe that's my new job, reminding them. Red Hawk smiled, small and knowing. Then you will need more than words. You will need family. He looked at Nayeli. She met his gaze, and for once she didn't flinch. He has one, she said. The chief said nothing more, just turned his eyes to the fire. Sam felt the warmth of it on his face, steady and real. Later that night, when the camp had quieted and the stars took over the sky, Sam lay on his bedroll, staring up at the endless dark. The wind whispered through the canyon, soft as breath. For the first time in years, the silence didn't hurt. He closed his eyes and thought of a trade that had started with $8 and a broken rifle and ended with something far heavier and far more valuable. Peace, or something close enough to it. The desert has given what it owed, a place to bury the past and plant something new. But even peace has echoes, and as the horizon brightens again, Sam will find that redemption isn't the end of the trail, it's the start of another one. And maybe that's the kind of story this world still needs, a reminder that even the roughest trails can lead somewhere worth stopping. If Sam's journey hit you somewhere deep, don't just ride off yet. Drop your thoughts down below. Tell me, what would you trade to make peace with your own ghosts? And if you want more tales from the dust and the dusk, saddle up and subscribe. There's always another road waiting out here in the West.